Hey, what's up, boys? So I know it's been a while. I've it's been a while since I've uploaded a video on the channel, and for that I want to say first of all I apologize. I was taking care of some stuff, and also I was just taking care of some stuff, and now I'm back, and we're returning with a video of a funny hypothetical I've seen floating around the internet. It's kind of gone viral, and it's funny because of just the subject matter. It's been here for like I've been seeing it for a very long time, but this is the first time I've seen it go this viral, and I wanted to like kind of see the different takes that people had, and I've seen different takes, and this is a different video. This is a different video talking about it. So other than that, I'm gonna stop blabbering. Let's get into the video. 100 people versus a gorilla. The honest truth.
So recently, all of social media has been blowing up with the debate of one gorilla versus 100 humans. The funny thing is that everyone seems completely divided onto who would win the fight. One side thinks that the gorilla would pull a Winston and just completely thrash the army of humans with ease, while the other side believes that the sheer numbers would let the humans just beat up the gorilla like it's Naruto. But who is actually correct? Is a gorilla versus 100 people actually a fair fight?
I mean, first of all, what do I think? Me personally, what do I think? Um, I think the most likely, like putting all of the factors, like let's say something like I saw someone point out morale, right? When a person, when you see a person get ripped apart, or not even ripped apart, you see a person's leg get broken, or like you see them like mangled, all like all mangled on the floor, you're going to look at that and you're going to be like, do I really want to do that? And there's that side, and then there's the other side that people have been putting up that why would you sign up to fight a gorilla if you're not ready for it, right? It's a funny it's a funny hypothetical, but me personally, I think that the gorilla would get mugged, but there would be a lot of casualties. A lot of people will die. Um, I think a lot of people will die, but at the end of the day, you're going to the people are going to win. That's just me personally.
Or is it actually a stomp? Does the gorilla win, or do the humans? Let's find out. If you like this kind of stuff, make sure to like, subscribe, and let's jump right in. Now, to begin, I think it's important to establish both sides of this fight. For the gorilla, we are assuming that this is essentially the strongest gorilla possible. Of the 4 gorilla species, easily the largest and strongest would be a silverback eastern lowland gorilla. At the absolute largest, gorillas can stand at over 6 feet tall and weigh between 400 and 500 pounds, with the largest ever being about 600 pounds or even beyond. However, this fails to capture how a gorilla's overall proportions drastically exceed that of a normal human, with a wingspan of over 8 feet, drastically more muscle mass, and far less body fat. In comparison to the peak gorilla, the group of humans will be made up of 100 average people. There will be no boxers, nor MMA fighters or athletes, and instead it will just be 100 totally normal people with totally normal physical stats, with
And that is where you run into some problems, because normal people, no, a normal person will not look at another normal person getting fucked up and then be like, yeah, I'm going to go and probably get served the same thing. Like it's funny, like it's a funny thing to consider, because at the end of the day, normal people, they don't look at a person getting beaten up and then they're like, yeah, I want that, I'm going to go into it further. There are going to be people who are going to run away.
there being an equal number of men and women. Now, technically, average height and weight varies somewhat drastically across the planet. So for this video, we'll be taking the stats from just Americans when possible. This means the 50 men in the group will be on average 5'9" and almost 200 pounds, while the 50 women in the group will be on average 5'4" and 170 pounds. Now, to be fair, Americans are kinda fat, so ultimately using the statistics of a healthier nation doesn't change these values very much, or the outcome in my opinion. Still, either way, the gorilla is going to be far larger than any single human, exceeding them in height by a couple inches and being casually twice the weight of the average man. Also, just so we're all on the same page, this is what 100 people looks like. It's definitely not a small group, but it's also not a massive crowd by any means. A lot of college lectures have more people than this in them. With that being understood, who wins this? Determining the true strength of a gorilla is incredibly difficult for multiple reasons. Firstly, gorillas ultimately are not a predatory species, so in comparison to something like a bear, a wolf, or any of the big cats, they rarely, if ever, go out of their way to attack humans. Secondly, unlike for humans that will willingly do experiments to test the limits of human strength, doing the exact same thing is almost impossible for gorillas because they're not just going to do a bench press for a couple of bananas, unfortunately. This forces most, if any, estimations of gorilla strength to be just that, estimations based off of their bodies and the very rare instances of strength that we have seen from them. Thirdly, there
Look at this. Look at this shit right here, man.
off of their bodies and the very rare instances of strength
It broke the glass. Literally broke the glass, threw its entire body weight into the glass. It had full intention of breaking through that glass
that we have seen from them. Thirdly, there is a lot of hearsay and misinformation regarding gorillas, with most online sources claiming completely different stats for what gorillas are actually capable of. Finally, a lot of info about gorillas that does exist is oftentimes really old. The biggest issue, though, is that inconsistent information. For example, one website says they can lift 1,800 pounds, while another claims they can lift more than twice that at 4,000 pounds. Things get even more wild when these resources put it in terms of humans. Some claim that a gorilla is 8 times stronger than an average man. Another claims that they are 4 to 10 times.
That's the one that I've heard most of the time. A gorilla is 8 times the. It has 8 times the strength of the average human. So I'd be basing my assumptions off of that, which I'm now discovering that is wrong. Right? It's old or it's wrong.
Stronger than a human. Another source claims 12 times, with another claiming that gorillas are a whopping 20 times stronger than a human. Clearly, the only consistent thing agreed on here is that gorillas are stronger than humans, but this much variation in number between sources is enough to say that these numbers are completely made up or very unsubstantiated. So let's look to what actual researchers have said about gorillas, or what we have actually seen them do in real life. Consistently, gorillas have been seen uprooting thin banana trees, shattering protective glass, and have broken human arms in brief attacks. Smaller and weaker primates like chimpanzees have shown feats of strength 2 to 3 times stronger than that of a normal human, around 800 to 1,200 pounds. Given that chimps are less than a quarter of the weight of a gorilla, suddenly the 4,000 pound claims look slightly more valid and would approximately make them 8 to 10 times stronger than a human being lifting wise, though
So it is true. Okay.
strength and weight don't exactly work with that in a 1-to-1 ratio, clearly. Looking back to older information, the statements get harder to verify, but could also be potentially more legitimate, as these were real interactions in the wild. We have accounts from 19th century explorer Paul Chalu recounting gorillas snapping and bending metal guns with their bare hands, or even an older account from explorer Andrew Patel that recounts that 10 people were unable to pin a gorilla down. Finally, we have more speculative calculations around things like gorilla bite force and punching strength, which is incredibly difficult to calculate without, having the gorilla punch something that actually measures the force. Still, even the most lowball calculations put the gorilla's strength at around 881 joules of force, with the highest being 3,660 joules of force. In comparison, humans output only about 74 joules with their punches, which would make the potential difference in punch power anywhere from around 10.
And it's like the most skilled humans at punching will literally knock you out with one punch. So imagine what a gorilla will do to you if it punches you. It's going to leave you looking like Eve in the last episode of Invincible. That's how it's going to leave you looking.
10 to 50 times. I don't think really speed is something we really need to talk about here. It isn't like other power scaling topics where either side is a blitz difference faster than the other or anything like that. Gorillas and humans are simply comparable in overall speed, with the gorilla being a bit faster in bursts of muscular power, though such speeds aren't exactly sustainable. So overall, gorillas are stronger, larger, heavier, and more powerful than multiple humans combined. Either way though, are the humans cooked? Let's get into it. Now, in a 1v1, 2v1, or even 10v1, I think the gorilla could pretty easily take it. From everything we've seen, from historical accounts to estimations, a gorilla may legitimately be around 10 times the strength of average humans, making all of these random articles potentially correct even if they were just yapping. Single strikes and bites from a gorilla is going to be breaking bones of whoever is unlucky enough to be in range. As they tend to do, they can also easily grab, lift, and pull around any human they manage to grab. Furthermore, most attacks
This video I saw, it literally grabbed the human, dragged him about like a meter or two, and then let him go. And it's like the gorilla was basically saying, bro, the gorilla was, it basically told him, bro, I could if I want to. If I wanted to, I definitely could. But I'm just going to leave you alone.
from a human are simply not going to legitimately harm a gorilla, the difference in the basic lifting and punching power being so immense that the person punching the gorilla would probably hurt their hands more than the gorilla's body. But as the number of humans increases towards 100, things get worse and worse for the gorilla for multiple reasons. Firstly, fatigue. Gorillas are not used to, nor are they really built for long, drawn-out fights. Most conflicts between gorillas only last a couple minutes at most, which is actually true for most humans as well. But while the gorilla might tear through 20, 30, 40 people, boom, there are still 60 humans the gorilla has to beat in order to win. Secondly, in this fight, strategy and coordination genuinely matter. For this fight
I didn't think of that. I didn't think of that.
Even happen, we kind of need to ignore the concept of fear for both sides. If a gorilla saw a group of 100 humans, they are very likely not going to attack and just run away. On the other side, if most people saw a gorilla beating up a dude, they're not going to jump in and help out. They're also running away. With that being said, if both sides legitimately want to beat the other with full conviction and no other options, 100 people can pretty quickly coordinate to absolutely bum rush on the gorilla, who simply would not be able to attack every person at once, even 20 people at once. Which brings up the third thing, weight. For as strong as a gorilla is, especially a potentially tired gorilla is simply not strong enough to hold off the weight of a coordinated group of humans. At the mid-end estimation of 1,800 pounds, even just 20 200-pound humans would be able to pin down a gorilla, with the only claim to the contrary being from a guy born in the 1500s. Would people get hurt and probably be killed in this effort to pin him down? But again, there are 50 dudes all prepared to do this, let alone the 50 women. But pinning isn't enough. The gorilla would need to be defeated, and even without tools, humans should be able to actually hurt gorillas. While human punches are far weaker than the apes, human kicks are overall far stronger. It can range from over 3,000 to over 4,000 joules, which is actually stronger than gorilla punches from a pure energy output standpoint.
So I was wrong. I was wrong. Holy fuck. Damn, so like a kick has a more, yeah, that's interesting.
As crazy as that sounds. So while yes, one guy randomly kicking a gorilla would probably do nothing, several dozen people all kicking at a gorilla's head while he's already pinned down would eventually take him out. So yes, 100 humans could beat a gorilla. If gorillas were truly a threat to literally 100 humans at a time, there would be far more stories of gorillas actually, killing humans, while we have stories like this for elephants or bears. So bottom line is this: humans most likely win, but you don't want to be at the front of the crowd when you're staring down a silverback. If you made it this far, thank you.
Yeah, there'd be a lot of people dead. The front line would be non-existent. You'd basically be going into the war expecting to die. So yeah, this is a pretty funny hypothetical I've seen floating around the internet. it's nice to see one that is based in actual fact. But anyways, other than that, I'll see you guys later. Peace.